producing puts you in this exceptional position to say to someone, your vision is safe with me, and we're going to figure it out.
Michelle, thank you for joining us. We have the immense pleasure of the incomparable Michelle Rago chatting with us today. Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I am super excited to be with both of you, always.
Oh man, what a pleasure. You know, it's funny. I remember the first time, and this is now a long, long time ago, maybe 8-9 years ago, the first time I saw your work. And I was like, ooh, this is another level. And we reached out and here we are. So tell us a little bit about...
I didn't make it easy.
No, we'll talk about that. But it was worth it. The wait was worth it. There's no doubt about that. But tell us a little bit about Michelle Rago Destinations. How did this get started? Who are you? What's the background here, Michelle?
What's so funny about looking at the both of you, and we've never done this, typically we have a martini between us.
That's right.
So you don't have a martini with you now?
No, it's too early. 11:14 is definitely before my time. But in any case, so, you know, a lot of people don't know. Now I'm 30 years in the business, and a lot of people don't know that I went to cooking school, and I really started in this industry thinking that I was going to be in food and beverage and hospitality. Yeah. And, you know, I did that. I worked in hotels and kind of very quickly figured out that what I was good at, although, you know, I've worked in off-premise catering and I've done a lot of logistical stuff for years, restaurants and waitressing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I sort of quickly figured out that I liked sales and I liked, you know, the producing side of things, right? Then I had a moment where, you know, and this sort of weighs into it for later, but I did work in publishing for sort of a brief interlude in magazines. I worked for New York Magazine and then Condé Nast Traveler Magazine. And so and that's important because, you know, that was back in the days of like ink, you know, that was advertising revenue, and, you know, the sales team would say, you know, we need a big idea, you know, in book, online, on air, you know. So, you know, I learned a lot about, you know, marketing and positioning when I was in publishing, although that was not meant to be for me long term. Actually a really good segue. And then from there, I went to this party, and it's so funny, this guy, the son of the guy who passed away, I actually lives in this town where I moved to. It was so weird sitting at the bar. But my first party that I ever did was a memorial service at the Hotel Mataglow. And it was, you know, for a music producer, and every celebrity, you know, Alabama, Phoebe Snow, you know, you name it, they're walking in the door, and, you know, I'm probably in stockings and a suit at this point. Right. And I just remember being so taken with, I didn't know this was an idea, a concept, producing on a, you know, I knew florist. That's it. I did that, and then from there, I did that for a while, and then I decided I wanted to go out and open my own flower business. So I did flowers for a long time, and a lot, which people also don't know that I was.
No, I didn't know that.
So I'll go to a prototype meeting. I'm like, oh, that's Tweedia. Oh, that's this. Oh, that. And they're like, how do you know all the flower names? I'm like, it's funny, but I
have a story.
I really wasn't. What I loved about it is I am a creative. I love design. But I was never really able to make a profitable business out of being a floral designer. It's sort of a bit like opening a restaurant. Because I would just want to, you know me, I'm a beauty chaser. I would just want to put more out there. So, you know, I did that, and you know, I did that for a while, and then I decided I needed, like every New Yorker, to publish a book. And so I went out to publish a book, and within that experience of publishing the book, you know, I don't know if they're still doing tabletop books the way they used to. And I, you know, I got a really good deal with Penguin. But the challenge was for me is that they didn't want just pictures of pretty flowers. They wanted to know about the process. So it took 3 years from signing the contract to putting it in stores. And by the time it was over, I'd had this whole new vocabulary of planning because they wanted planning suggestions in the sidebar. And I was like, I'm not a planner. But I had worked in meeting planning in hotels. So really, it's sort of that experience brought full circle that actually what I want to do is go 30,000 feet up. I don't want to be a florist or floral designer. It's not my passion. What I want to do is produce. So, it's a long-winded answer of I've tried a lot of things and with that, I'm really confident about what I'm good at and what I like and how to staff my operation. I always tell people like try everything because it's really important to be able to look back on your experience, good, bad, or ugly, and know what you're good at.
It sounds like you tried it. You did try everything, and like in the end, all these pieces that actually probably serve you quite well now because now you have a clear understanding of hotels, of food and beverage, of floral.
Even going to cooking school, and working in a kitchen, I've hosed down black mats, I've loaded trucks. I really understand, which allows me to be a better producer, but it also allows me to be a very compassionate producer because I do understand what goes into it. And I do value that into myself with clients because, nobody likes to look at the, sort of the underbelly of what it takes to produce something, which is labor, time, labor.
Yeah. Well, that's clear. When we've worked with you, that's clear. Like there's I don't want to call it a nurturing, but we're being taken care of. And that I always feel that with you, like
being hosted.
You care about it. Like you care about every single person that's on the team, not just us.
I do.
So I'm sure we're special.
And you are special, by the way.
My mom says so too. Okay,
yeah.
Another person, yes.
You're special, and I thank you for that. I do take care of people, and the taking care of people is important to me. But it's part of my company culture. It also makes me feel more confident when I'm on site because what it is when if people are unhappy, they tip it over. If they don't feel like you're feeding them, if they feel like you're not valuing their experience, because when we go live, I'm asking a lot of people. And when they feel well taken care of, they're willing to go the distance.
It's so true. I'll never forget the first event we worked together in Ireland. When you took us on that walkthrough the day before, I can see this background now, right? Because it's like you put yourself in our shoes and you said, this is what you're going to be looking at for this. Okay, let's go here. Let's walk it through the whole thing, as opposed to just the timeline and going, good luck, execute. You gave us that as well, but...
Well, I think that, Otto, goes back to working in publishing because, when I worked in publishing and you worked with between sales and what do you call the other department? The people who take the photos? Sales and... you know what I mean?
The photo department.
But you learn that what people are left with, especially photography, because look, I don't have a bricks and mortar shop. So photo, video are my eyes to the world. It's how I communicate with people. And I value like crazy what it is you guys do. And that if we put a little time into what outcome makes sense holistically for the whole project, then everybody wins.
Yeah. And you're right. Like being taken care of like that, it brings out the best in people. It always does. You're like, oh, wait a minute. You're coming that extra step towards me. Like, hell yes. I'm going to give you everything I got all the time.
It does. Look, it all happens over the table and I've always been that way, but even more, I think, in so many ways, the world is so undone. And, I believe we're saving the world one party at a time over here. But, because you've been in it a long time, whether you go through the financial crisis or you go through something as horrible as 9/11, you go through a pandemic, we lived on the grounds that people would risk their lives to be together. And so it all happens over the table. So whether you're working or you're a guest, it is critical for people to feel seen and heard. And with that, I think that puts you way over the mark.
Yeah, that's huge.
So on that note about being seen and heard, like, can you talk us through your process of how do you go about understanding and translating your client's vision? I mean, you talk about being a producer, and when we work a wedding with you, like, I can feel like each one is different, right? And the fingerprint of the clients, it's not a Michelle Rago fingerprint necessarily. I can feel the imprint of the client. What's that process like for you?
What keeps me passionate about this business is that it's about people, right? And I think if it were about being a flower designer and pretty, I would be a flower designer. But producing puts you in this exceptional position to say to someone, your vision is safe with me, and we're going to figure it out. I don't know it yet, but we are going to find it, and we're going to do it as a team and collaboratively. And I'm going to share all my experience with you, and you're going to just keep talking about what you're worried about and, what you're excited about. And that's my job. Like, my job is to listen on behalf of the client. And you know how complicated the client is. Maybe it's, it's who's paying your bill, number one, but sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's four. And so you're listening for that. And then, you have to listen for who the right team would be. And the thing is now, for years, everybody has doing this deep dive on Instagram, which is fine because it's just another version of Pinterest or another version of cutting pages out of a magazine, whatever it is. But your job is to know not only what teams are capable of. So it's interpreting the client's vision. It's unraveling what guest experience means to them. That's key. For me, that's guest experience. Yeah. And it's how do they like to entertain? The what it looks like is it's never the first thing for me. It's usually comes at about 3,
Interesting.
How do they want to do it? Why do they want to do it? What matters? Because something different matters to everybody. And, and with that, the other thing that we bring to it, when people say experience, I think it's like a word like luxury, it just, what meaning does that have, experience? Well, experience is definitely, yes, it's 30 years, it's relationships. So, you have to know when you say, I'm going to deliver something, how you're going to get that done, because we're not on an even playing field ever. And I never work with the same team twice, ever. So that's a fresh one every time. And the last piece of that is that, let's say we'll use the pandemic as an example. How many companies changed? How many roll-ups? How many people sold? And so you got to say to something, they're like, well, I love this brand. And you say, oh, it's a good brand, but here's where this brand is now. And so you have to be able to take what they think they see, steep it in reality while keeping sort of the fantasy and the joy around it, and say, I'm only going to present a team, a vendor, and an experience that is possible and that I know I can deliver.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
That is.
But it's something we say to but it's something we say to photographers a lot when we consult with them. Like, the biggest skill you can have is listen to your clients. Don't step in with a preconceived idea. Oh, it's another wedding. Listen. And then they say, what do we ask? I'm like, just take genuine interest. Let them talk. Listen. You'll get everything you need from listening.
That's exactly right. And, and people trust on their own pace, And there are some people, they're used to working with consultants, and it's really easy for them to make the leap, really easy. And then there are people, it's not easy for them to take the leap.
They want the control.
Well, it takes a lot of teaching and a lot of supporting and a lot of, justifying in a good way. I mean, from a business perspective, like you have to figure out how to give people information so that they can work through it and become your partner. That is, if you can figure out what makes people tick.
Yeah. The rest just follows, right? That's the thing. And that's true in life across the board, relationships, my kids, my wife, my friends, this relationship, this friendship. That's it. And it's never the same.
And the thing is like, and not everything that we do will be perfect because somebody like at the hotel left and they didn't transfer the information. I mean, it's such basic stuff, right? And so you got to be able to build enough trust with a client to come back and say, so here's what didn't go the way I anticipated. And this is what we've sorted. That actually, I always say sometimes the edit is better, I mean, truly, sometimes the edit's better.
Yeah, totally.
You said you never work with the same team twice. That sounds intentional.
It is intentional for me. There are people that structure their business and they have many, many employees and many producers that are under the same roof and they do the design in-house. And I respect that. That is a way to approach it. It's a lot of bodies to be responsible for. And you get the luxury of really having a sense of, I would imagine, familiarity and confidence in the people what they're capable of. And I've never done it that way. I have always kept a smaller team, and then I curate every single person that works on the job based on what the job is and where it is. And, it's funny. I've always done it that way. And then during COVID, we were terrifically busy. And I kept my company model the same. Like I've never staffed up. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done, because there were, there were no experts. There was no cavalry in that business, that whole business. I like to call it the 19 to make it feel a little better. So there was no cavalry in the 19. I was so sick of the word COVID. But what happened is I did it that way. And we had success job after job. And I remember talking to a couple of my peers who, have bigger operations. And like he would say, I just don't get, how many people are you again? I said, I'm 3. And he's like, it's unbelievable. And it's because it's what I believe in, right? It's what I believe in. I know that if I hire these 12 people, these humans that I go around the world with, we get each other.
Yeah.
And they know if someone has a concentration in food and beverage, in production, if they come from a hotel background. It's like, I can look at this job and say, I know exactly who I need to be on this job. That they're going to excel because they're like, boom, I got hired for what I love.
Yeah. Because with 12 exceptional people that are well taken care of and well motivated and they love doing it and it's a great job and they like you and the team, you can produce exceptional, right?
It's a love fest. And I mean, and it's, the thing is, here's the thing is we're also all our energy. It's like a buyout at a hotel, right? And if you don't buy out a hotel, fine. But, their job, their attention is somewhere else. And when you curate a team with this much passion, I tell people we're not hitting our mark. We're hitting our mark 100 miles past it. And how do we do that? We do it by having people who are passionate and enthusiastic and who understand that when it's hard and when you're turning the knobs live, if you don't understand how to work together, you miss a lot, and I like to be super calm. Like you watch me when it goes live, this, I'm standing there and then, it's like it's like my job is to read what's going on because I want to take that party and I want to ratchet it up and I want to squeeze every bit out of that rock, every bit.
That's amazing. Look, you're already doing it here now, but the last time we saw you in Utah, you said very casually, I can sell pretty much anything to anyone. And I believe you. You're already doing it on this episode. I don't even have a wedding and I'd hire you if I could afford it. But tell us about that, Michelle. Like, how do you do that? What's the magic sauce there?
And I want to say, like, I could sell any. I think the context we were talking, it was about a project that I was doing on a personal note, and I was doing a fundraiser, and I wouldn't sell anybody anything that didn't make sense for them. So let's talk about my passion for sales.
Yes,
in a way that almost sounds like negative. It's that I actually am. I've committed my life to being in the service industry, and I'm very proud of being in the service industry. Yeah. I think they're all, you go to Europe and, people are going, they're interning, they're going to college to become a GM. You don't find as much of that here, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm very proud to stand there and say, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Pick up a cocktail napkin. Like, I'm in it. Mm-hmm. I love it. And then on top of it, I love selling. And, there's no trajectory to tell you, like, I figured that out when I worked in hotels, that I like to sell. I like to talk to people. And I think it all comes down to sort of the parallel of producing. Selling allows me to build the house. It creates the space for me to set the thing up for success. So, and I don't know what it is in the beginning, but I know that I'm smart enough to say, well, how many bedrooms are you looking for? How much acreage? Like, what is it that would be the thing? Yeah. So why I love selling is that I get to tell people what I'm passionate about and how I envision that it works the best. And then I get to structure it in a way that it allows it to be successful. And there are a lot of people who don't like selling. And I feel it's harder if you don't like to sell.
Intimidated by it, for sure. But I think you have those two standout features for good sales. And that is, like, there's a kindness, but you also have this incredible confidence. And it's not an overconfidence. It's one of my favorite quotes is, confidence comes from competence. Mm-hmm. You know your competence. And so your confidence just flows. It's all over your body language and your face. And it's not arrogance, not the same thing at all. In fact, arrogance, I think, is lack of confidence, to be quite honest. Mm-hmm. Thank you. But that's what I feel. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think also the selling piece, like when I started out my career, there were times too where, you'd sit in a hotel at a BEO meeting, or, I would get in trouble when I worked in corporate if you didn't charge for something or you didn't understand how it fit together. So I have a lot of reverence for the process as well. Like, and then when I did flowers, the reason I like flowers, I couldn't make sense of flowers, like, oh shoot, I didn't communicate that in advance, and you can't go back. Right.
Yeah.
Can we dig into this idea a little bit, though, that sales is bad? And because we get a lot of
I don't think sales is bad.
Well, we get a lot of students. I shouldn't call them students. We get a lot of people that we consult with that feel like sales is icky, right? Like there's this idea that, like, you think of a used car salesman, right? Like that age old, like, slick, I'm going to pull wool over your eyes so that I can get your money,
man. Yeah,
exactly. Well, how do we get past that for people? Like, is that ever something that you had a challenge with? Because what I hear you saying is, like, I'm selling to do the best thing for my client. That's why you're selling.
I'm selling something. I mean, look, I believe what I first of all, I love what I do.
Right.
I believe I'm providing a service. I know I'm providing a service. I know that regardless of what someone's what they do in life, to imagine you could be the king of the planet Earth, but, like, to produce a wedding on an island in the middle of nowhere, like, they're not going to know where to get a chair. So like, we are actually we're protecting their investment.
Big
we're
time.
protecting their experience, and I believe in that. And I also believe as a producer and as a female producer and we bring a lot of opportunity to the locations that we pick. So I'm very proud of that. And so, when people get, oh, it's so much, or, I could, take this money and, give it to a village in Africa. And I was like, well, you should do that.
Yeah.
The two things that we do with each other. Like, I'm very proud to be able to walk off an island and know that, we helped small businesses get through a season. So anyway, I'm very proud of all that. And so I've never seen sales as icky, but to people who do, I think they have to unlock that it's a language, it's a vocabulary to get everybody where they're going. Right. And
totally.
it's also, it's a way to, when we onboard a client, we talk a lot about what could the spend be, and helping them. You've heard me say this on jobs before. It's like the way I do it is like, I think this is the color blue. Do you think this is the color blue? And that's a very simple way, because you could say country, and is that like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah,
and so you do a lot of talking to people and meet them where they are. And so we all sell all day long, every day. So it's disingenuous to just sort of isolate this one thing. You may not be good at it. I mean, people aren't really necessarily good at talking to other people. Yeah, I happen to enjoy that. Yeah. But I do think that it's learning the language, it's practicing, it's understanding how to onboard clients, setting them up to understand what the process is, and then defending this amount of money in the conversation when they are trying to maybe scoop it all out. And you say, I can't give that money back until we make decisions. And you're going to be part of that. But for me just to say, I can do it for $20, no questions asked. Yeah. It should say I can do it for 20. My goal is to do it for 20, and let's hang on to 30% in this whole conversation until you make money. And when you keep talking to people in a way that makes sense, they're like, okay, right, this makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let me ask you this then. If you could point to just one thing, I think you've answered in so many ways already. What's been the one thing that's made you so successful? Because you're top of the game. There's no one better. What's the one thing?
Wow.
One thing is always a hard question.
Well, I am passionate about it, and I think that's a very lucky thing in life to find out, to find something you're passionate about that you can also make money. You can be passionate about a lot of things, but you also have to pay the bills. Yeah. And I really have never fallen out of love. And there are a lot of, I've built this business on bloody knuckles and bloody knees, brick by brick. So there would be a million reasons for me to step out and say, I'm out. And I just have never, and people say, oh, when are you going to retire? I'm like, well, retire, my God. Like, of course I'm going to slow down eventually. But
you love this.
Who doesn't want to throw parties for a living?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's the same experience me and James have. On it, every single event we do, we look at each other and we go, we get to do this for a living? Like this is how we provide for our families? You got to be kidding me. Like, this is ridiculous. We work with you and your team, and we're in Sicily and we're in Utah and like Ireland. And I'm like, it's exceptional, everything. And it's just massive collaboration. And it's just, it's wonderful. Yeah.
And like weddings are different than birthdays or milestones, but weddings are so hopeful, and you're in this very sacred space, and it's it's emotional. It's all the things.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, so passion, legit. You love what you do. Yeah,
I love what I do.
Yeah,
and it's funny. I love what I do, and you guys know, because you know me on a personal note. remember Brian and I threw a Christmas party as soon as we could. And, you know, I have, you know, if you follow my Instagram, I have dinner parties all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I did one for Halloween. I just did one. Oh my God. I had an epic fail on my deviled eggs. It didn't look like a turkey, but I have a tree trimming party on Friday. I'm like, you know, my friends are always like, you just got back. What are you doing? I'm like, it's done. I've already shopped. We're good. And, you know, it's so really is my passion.
Yeah. I was just saying, clearly if you're doing that on a personal level, like this is your job and you're doing it at a personal level, clearly it's a passion.
Yeah, it's a passion. You know, I'm always going out to eat. I'm always trying wine, you know. So it's really a language that I love.
Yeah. And you can see your passion for food in your background in your Instagram, because you are constantly hosting. It's food. And this is a side question then. What's your favorite meal?
My firing squad meal
That's the one.
Would be steak frites with a classic béarnaise, a super citrusy salad. And look, I would like a roast, like a spatchcock's chicken, lemon spatchcock chicken on the side. But I would do that. I would do escargot. I would do French fries.
Yeah.
Peas.
So you're counting on the firing squad missing the first few times then, right? It's like, okay, hang on.
You get to eat the whole meal.
What are you drinking with that meal?
Oh, really good red wine, champagne, red wine. Hopefully they'd let me walk out with a champagne glass.
That's so good.
I wanted to circle back again, back to sales. I know there's a confidence in you across every level that we work with you, like that I just recognize. But I'm curious, how much do you think that confidence plays in selling yourself, selling your company, selling a client on a photographer, selling a client on, you know, whatever it is that you're selling, quote unquote? What does confidence play?
I mean, I think it's important to be confident in what you believe, in what you know, what your passion is, and what you're selling. So I am confident, and I'm, you know, look, I'm 30 years and I'm confident because, as I said, I've tried a lot of things and I've put myself in a lot of arenas. So when I tell you no, or, you know, here's why I don't believe this is going to work, or this is a great idea, it's just not really for this party, and here's why. Because I have put myself in a lot of situations that have taught me that, you know, and you guys know I come from, you know, a background. I'm an adult child of an alcoholic, and, you know, my dad and I were super tight, and he got sober while I was alive and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I had a really hard start, and, you know, and I think you learn how to communicate in the face of a whole lot of adversity when you're that young, and nobody seems to really be in charge, you know, and I've thought a lot about that over the years, you know, and, you know, I think the beauty of such a difficult situation is, you know, you really know how to land on your feet, and I'm not, you know me, I do not get undone in a chaotic situation. In fact, the more chaotic it is, the calmer I feel. And I'm like, look at that.
You have those hours underneath you, that life experience, that 10,000 hour rule. I remember a few years ago, or many years ago at this point, I hit that and I could feel it. I'm like, oh, there's no more question mark in my mind about my skill in this. I can feel the competence. I can feel the toolkit is deep, you know, like stepping into a wedding. I'm like, roll this however you want. We can play with it, you know?
You know, and it's so, you know, I think that's life experience. And, you know, it hasn't always been easy being a female producer and working globally. I mean, it's a pretty patriarchal society. And, you know, there have been a lot of times and places that you would never expect. They're like, wait, who's in charge, you know, here? And I'm saying, well, you know, actually I am. And, you know, and you have to win over whether it's the chef who's classically trained or, whatever country, whatever culture, which, I have great respect for all the cultures. It's one of the most fascinating aspects of this for me. But, and then, there's time, I've hit my stride in life, I'm not, I know who I am. I know what I want. And, you're punching up so much when you're coming up. And then you just get to a point that, like, I know no matter what happens, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. But that's interesting. Yeah. Your stride. I remember a few years ago, and you've obviously been at the top of the game for a while, but a few years ago, I said to you, I'm like, it feels like you've hit your stride here in life. It just felt like you were just like,
I feel in life, I feel happy and I just love where I am. And, and like now you look, okay, I'm not going to be 110. I mean, maybe I'll be 108. I don't know if I'll be 110, but you also know, like, it's not like I'm looking for a career change at this point. No. This is it. And I love it,
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what you think, what you would say to the wedding planner, the photographer, the videographer, the floral designer that's in this 5 years now, 6 years. Like, what can I do to gain that level? Obviously, you've talked about hours, right? Yeah. And that's something you can't just
you got to put the time in. You have to put the time in and you have to do the work. I mean, I will tell you that I didn't start feeling a sense of clarity until 10 years. So I think, everybody wants to get everywhere like right away. And, I think people are very seduced by the luxury space because there's a lot of money in it. And I understand that. But, when, let's say you switch from a flat fee to percentage or whatever it is, if you're taking that kind of money, you sure better know what you're doing. And that type of business takes a lot more hours. Yeah. So you have to really understand what kind of customer service lies underneath that. And, and I think, there a lot of people, look, nobody knows everything, right? I think somebody told me in a sales course, it's good to know 70% of what you're talking about. You're pretty cocksure. The other, if you don't know the 30, you can fake it and figure it out. But you know what I mean? And I feel that there's a lot of pushing around of sort of papers and people don't pick up the phone and, me, don't call me. Like, what are we talking about here? And I'm very old school. I want to hear your voice. I want to meet up. I don't want to do this whole thing in a box. I don't want to do that.
No, because the time thing is so huge, right? Because they're truly exceptional. If you want to get to the top of any space, that's hard. It should be hard. It's the top of it, right? Like for us to work with you, we talked about it earlier. It took us 8 years from the first email to get the first job. And was it worth it? Hell yes, it's worth it. It's still, it continues paying us. Like you're a friend.
I am slow to,
No, but you got to put in.
Yeah. And that's not an indictment on you in any way, right? Like,
I'm laugh. I wish I wish everybody could see my face. It is typically my personality. And I say to people, I am doing these jobs where, I am saying to someone, it is my name. It is Michelle Rago, and I take full responsibility. And when I take full responsibility for something, I'll tell you what doesn't work for me. If I work with a group of curated vendors and I've suggested them, things aren't going right, let's say, and the one vendor starts to criminalize the other one. Well, and I'm like, no, whoa. That that's not to say that what somebody didn't affect somebody else. But I don't play that.
No.
Yeah.
Team.
Everybody's got to come to it and say, look, this is what I need to be successful. This is why. And I ask people, help me sell you. Why? What is it that separates you from other people? And when I'm putting together my sales, when I'm selling people, when you talk to me about you, I'm integrating that into my sell. I'm saying what's unique is that I'm giving you this team because they're going to be, James is always climbing from a tree, and you guys are
Yeah,
fast,
yeah.
agile. You get a ton of shots. You have some crazy love language between the two of you that you don't need to communicate to another human. You work in tandem. You get each other. It's not just like closing the sale is the beginning. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Because from there, you got to figure out like, okay, how am I going to build this house?
Yeah. It's just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
Well, on that then, like, so for you then, if you were to pick what's a photographer for a team, what are you looking for? What's those standout? What is it? What'll get you the job?
So, I mean, maturity, someone who is really like, again, confident, and confidence comes to say, here's how we do it. This is what makes us successful. You guys know how to put your specific point of view forward. So for me, it's confidence, kindness. For me, kindness is always in the top three. I like people who understand in the luxury space. In the beginning when I would do, 60 projects or whatever, you get your stuff in like 8, whatever, like that just doesn't fly in this arena. Yeah. You need to know that, maybe that you guys understand that you have this small window when that's all over to almost like feed back the magic to the client, right? And you guys understand that all the way through. So there's a partnership in the beginning, the middle, and the end, and that's really important.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, and I'll say this, James, it's interesting. If there's photographers, there should be photographers listening. Note that she didn't mention photography once, and that's important. And it's a given at this level.
If I don't like your work.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's a given. It's like nice pillows at the Amman. The pillows are nice.
Yeah, and that's when I talk to you about that, like the bringing in my team and that 30%. Look, if you can't write a timeline, if you can't do that's so over here. It's where's the magic?
Magic.
Where is the magic? Like, what is it that we're doing that makes people feel that it is worth their time, their investment, and coming together as a group when you can do the magic? Yeah,
it's power.
Power.
Yeah.
And people don't forget that.
Yeah, they don't.
Right? The client doesn't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, the best you're ever going to be is in collaboration. That's the bottom line. That's why we started this James and Shoals. We're like, wait a minute. We're so much better together. It's a waste of time to do this alone. We're better in every way together, and collaborating with you and other teams like this, like that's where our work became much better, because it's all of a sudden not just us walking into a scene going, here's my photo skill set, I'll make it this level. It's a whole giant team. It's you, it's Arishi, it's the property, it's your team. It's like, oh my gosh, this is going to come out so much better.
Well, it is. And, and I think, in the confidence piece, like, look, there are people who, everybody runs their business differently. And I know that because the clients, when they come to us and we interview them, they're confused. They're confused. You're like, and what do you do again? And everybody does it differently. Right. And so, I've believed in collaboration for a long time. And because I'm confident, I could give you the formula, but you still have to go out and do it. Like what I do is unique to me.
The point about the magic. I remember the first time we went to Amman, we arrived and the whole staff was there. The gardening, everybody was there to greet us. And we were like, whoa, that's magic. Because the pillows at the Amman and the Four Seasons are the same. They're nice. The shower's nice. The view's nice. That's not the magic.
No, and I think you also, I think so for the younger planners, when you talk about, if you're not good at something, then find somebody who fills that in and allows the client to feel the experience. So whether I do all the sales for my company, other people have someone else do it, or they do it as a tag team, figure that part out. And if you're not good at it, learn to get comfortable with it. Because if you don't understand it, you can't manage it. And then, when we talk about the magic, you have to figure out, like from a customer service perspective, like what is it that, sets you apart, or, whatever it is, I don't even, I remember when I first started in the restaurant business, there was this one restaurant in Midtown, and the GMs, the managers, they would come out, those big silver cookie sheets, the big ones. Yeah. They'd come out of the kitchen with the oven mitts during every part of the dinner, and they would butler pass hot chocolate chip cookies with flake salt on top. Now, I don't care if you were having a martini and you hadn't ordered your dinner. I'm like, I'll take 2 of those. And so, and the reason I bring that up is luxury. We talk about this. It's a very misunderstood word. And luxury could be the chocolate chip cookie butler passed onto the thing. Not everything is more. It's about, delighting people and figuring out how to delight people. And if you can do that, then we're selling parties, and and not every idea is a good idea, like this whole, I want 3 choices at the meal. It's too much. And you want to dial it back, and you want to like distill things. And so if they can learn how to distill what they're selling, if they can, just distinguish themselves, do what you say, say what you mean.
Yeah.
Don't hide behind your phone.
Yeah.
And if you do something wrong, you pick up the phone and you say, I take complete responsibility for that. I'm sorry you're upset. And here's what I propose. You got to look something in the eye. Like there's a lot of not apologizing in this world. A lot.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
That is just not smart. Yeah.
We appreciate you so much, Michelle, for sure. Like
seriously,
this relationship it was good in the beginning, and it just keeps getting better. I just have one more question for you before you let you go. Like you talk about luxury, you talk about this level of event. Talk to us a little bit about risk. How did you learn to embrace? There's inherent risk in this, right? Whether that means, hey, I'm gonna change my prices, or hey, I'm gonna promise a client something that I know is going to be really difficult. How do you embrace that risk?
Really, this is just something I will tell you. The answer is easy. I am a huge risk taker. Mm-hmm. Period. So I don't know how you teach that.
No, totally.
Because I've taken a lot.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. But I can tell you, because my sister, if she were sitting here, she is not a risk taker.
Mm. Yeah.
And, and I will put it all on the line.
Yeah.
And if I fail, I'm like, well, that was an epic fail. No, but in any case, so I am a risk taker, James, and I love taking risks. Now, that is not bungee jumping. Don't ever ask me to do any of those things. I am willing to, and I also don't want to do it the way everybody else does it.
Mm. Yeah. That's a sign out too.
That's why we like it so much.
Yeah. No, and I just think that, people get lazy, and I don't mean reinventing the wheel every time. They're small moves, but small moves are really, they distinguish a lot. So.
Yeah, the small moves. Yeah.
We'll see you later. Go to take your next call.
Seriously.
We really appreciate it.
We appreciate you and your time.
Your remote sales team at work, gentlemen. I got it.
Just the example. Michelle, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Happy holidays. Bye, guys.